NTI, and today I'm going to walk you through cleaning a TFTN 285 boiler. Before you begin this procedure, you want to start by turning the power off and ensuring that the gas supply is isolated from the boiler. Once that's done, you can start by grabbing onto the air intake, give this a pull. Sometimes they are stiff, but if you wiggle it, it will come off fairly easily. Set that to one side. Now this boiler has an access hatch in the top, and so if you have a fire tube with an access hatch, that means that we have to remove the blower before we can take the door off. So we're going to go through that process next. Before we get to the blower though, we are going to remove our wire harnesses and pull these out of the way. So that's our blower low voltage. We'll get off the spark generator cable, ground wire over here, our flame connector. So we're going to push these guys right off to one side. We've got the thermal limit on the door here, the two purple wires. Again, push all this off to one side. If these are in your way, feel free to disconnect and move those. Generally, I don't worry about it, but it's certainly something you can do. The gas valve is up to the right here. Now, these will have a small flat screw in the center there, so you will have to remove that first, and you can either do that with the hatch off the top. This one was already removed, so we're going to get that out of our way. Knock that down to one side. Where this is a fire tube, we want to remove the flame rod and igniter before taking the door off, so I'll do that next. Once you get your igniter out, have a look at that. This is what a good one should look like. Look for any blistering or cracking down the ceramic portion here. The gap should be about 3/16 to 1/4 inch. Look for warping left or right or forwards backwards. This one's in good condition, so we're going to set it aside and reuse it. The graphite gaskets, sometimes you get lucky and it comes off like this. Sometimes they're going to tear. If it tears, you're going to have to put a new one on. Again, give the flame rod a look over. These are actually going to be the same part on this boiler. Looking for any cracks or checking or blistering of the ceramic here, and of course check the gasket out. So now that everything's unplugged and removed, the next thing we're going to do is disconnect our gas valve and gas line so that we can remove this blower. In order to do that, you do have to remove the right hand side of the appliance. You'll need a 1/4 inch nut driver, and there's 2 screws on the top, 3 down the side here, and then 2 along the bottom that have to be removed. Now that we have the side off, we're going to crack the gas union, so you'll want a pipe wrench or 2 large crescent wrenches. Once that's off, we can take off the 3 screws that hold the venturi and the gas valve together, and we'll just take that out as one piece. So these 3 screws are a Torx 40, or sorry, Torx 30. Once you have your venturi assembly off, watch this gasket. Sometimes it sticks to the venturi like this one does. Sometimes it will stick to the blower. When this is reassembled, you will want to make sure that you push this gasket into that groove and then reassemble it. Watch that it doesn't come out of place. If it does, there's a very good chance you'll have difficulty setting your combustion and the numbers will just be too lean, not enough fuel. Also give the venturi an inspection, make sure that the throat of the venturi is in good condition and not overly dirty. Now that our gas valve assembly is removed, we can take off the combustion fan motor. There's 3 nuts that hold this on, and the 4th one that used to be difficult in the back to get to has been removed to make your life a bit easier. So you'll need an 8mm or 5/16 wrench. What you want to do is just loosen these a bit by hand, and then once you get them loose, you should be able to spin them off with your finger. That's our combustion fan removed. Next, we'll take off the burner door. Now we can pull our door off. The refractory in these boilers is generally reusable. However, when you're taking this burner door off, you want to make sure that the burner clears the refractory before you pull it out of the boiler. If you don't do that, the burner can twist in the refractory, sometimes causing it to break. And the best way to do that is just to make sure this comes straight up and then out before you twist it. So there we go, we'll get that up and out and pull it off to one side. Inspect the burner. If there's any tears or big holes, anything like that, this should be replaced. While you've got it apart like this, it's a good time just to give it a rinse. Rinse water through here until it runs clean out through here. These ones you can't really see inside because there's a second venturi in there. That's to distribute air and gas evenly, but you can certainly rinse it out and then just give it a shake and dry it off. Other than that, there's not a lot of service to be done with this. When you come to remove the refractory in the chamber here, it's best, it will often on an older boiler stick to this gasket. So if you peel the gasket off first, and this will only go on one way, so it's actually a good idea to take a little Sharpie and put a little mark on here and on the chamber so that we know which way it goes again. Now that that's off, if you're gentle and take this refractory out, you should be able to do it without breaking it. What you're looking for here is serious cracking, flaking, or checking. This one's in fairly good condition and could be reused, so we'll set it to one side, perform our cleaning, and then we can reuse this. The little bits of fuzzies that stick out around the flame rod igniter, just gently tuck them back. If this starts to crack or tear, then you should replace it. Now that our chamber's open, you don't have to remove the hatch at the top, but it certainly makes it easier to see. You want to flush plenty of water down through here. You're going to use a plastic scrub brush and you're going to scrub and flush until the water's running clean and clear out through the condensate drain at the bottom. Once you're happy with the condition of the chamber, you want to remove the condensate trap, flush any debris out of that trap, reassemble the trap and pour a little water down here. Make sure the blue ball in the trap is floating before you leave the job site. Now that we've done that, we can reassemble our boiler and perform a combustion test. Now that it's time for reassembly, this refractory will only fit in the chamber one way. And what works for me is, in order to get the alignment right the first time, I'll take my door, reinstall the refractory on here, line up my holes to make sure everything's right where it needs to be. And then without the gasket, we're just going to reinstall this, and we're using the door as a template to get that refractory exactly right. And the reason we're doing that is just I found that once the refractory's down in the hole, it doesn't twist very easily, so if it's misaligned, there's a tendency to push the igniters down through and it can break the refractory. So this is, I found, the best way to align it to begin with. Then we're going to get this back off. Take our gasket and reinstall this. Ensure that this is nice, flexible rubber and clean before you put it back on. It's not a bad idea to wipe it down with a damp cloth to get any dust or debris off. Remember, it only goes one way, so if the holes don't line up, just move it around till it does fit. Before we bolt everything down, just test fit your flame rod or igniter, and they should drop in there nice and easy. That indicates the refractory is properly lined up and you don't have to worry about it. So now we can bolt this down. When you go to tighten these down, put your finger against the gasket, use your wrench, and you want to snug it down until you feel the gasket begin to bulge. Once the gasket starts to bulge, move to the opposite stud and tighten that one down. Continue in a crisscross pattern until you've tightened all the burner door studs. I like to go back and give everything a double check to make sure it's all snug. Now that we've done that, we can reinstall our blower, flame rod, and igniter. With any assembly like this, it's best to loosely put in both screws first and then snug them down. Now we can reinstall our Venturian gas valve, reconnect the gas line, and then do a combustion test. So just use the gas union to temporarily support it, then we'll loosely put in our 3 screws and tighten it down. When you reconnect your gas valve, just make sure to put the screw back in. You don't want that to vibrate loose over time. It's always a good practice to go back and check your cable placement. We don't want cables laying on the burner door if we can avoid it. Also, you want to watch your spark igniter wire, this thick orange wire. Try and keep it a couple of inches away from anything that might be damaged if it was to come into contact with that. Sometimes it can arc through the casing of the wire into an adjacent wire. So we'll pick this one up, move it out of our way, and now we can reinstall the air inlet. The air inlet is just a friction fit. There's a small gasket in here. Just press it in place. Now that the boiler is reassembled to this point, you'll want to leave the side off and do your combustion testing. The reason you want to leave the side off, just gives you a bit better access to the valve. You can see what's going on. It is easier to access the valve from the side. We have separate videos on setting combustion, so I won't go over that just now. We also have videos on how to get into test mode. But once your combustion test is complete and the boiler is running, at that point your cleaning is complete and you can wait another year and come back then. Thank you for watching the video today. If you have any questions, as always, call our tech support department at 1-800-688-2575.